Call the meeting to order, Bucksport Town Council, Thursday, March 28th, 2019. Roll call, Kathy.
Mark Eastman.
Here.
Paul Bissonnette.
Here.
Dave Key absent. Peter Stewart.
Here.
Dan Ormsby.
Here.
Paul Garvin.
Here.
Robert Palmer.
Here.
Item 3 is presentation made town council recognitions. Not tonight. Item 4 is consider minutes for previous meetings. Town council meeting minutes 2/28/19.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Documentation and correspondence. First one, Down East Family YMCA Executive Report. I know Nick's not here, but he put together quite a report there for the stuff they've been doing, and I think we've made a good decision to go in that direction. All the stuff that they've got going on and stuff we're going to do in the future, so. Unless that's Nick running down over the hill. No. Item B was WIC thank you. I believe that was for the donations that we received.
That's, we paid the amount you appropriated from last year's budget, and that's what this,
Okay.
that is.
Down East Transportation Ridership Report. It's our monthly report of ridership. It still looks like it's being used quite well. Family First, thank you. Again, another thank you for our payment. Hospice Volunteers of Hancock County, another thank you. And Main Street Bucksport Community Highlights was a flyer I believe they put together of all the things that have happened and what's been going on.
From a number of different agencies.
All over, just not just Bucksport,
Yeah.
Main Street. So, anything from the public on any of those? Anything else from the council? All good work from everybody, and it's nice to get the thank yous and going forward. Item 6, ordinances to consider or introduce. I don't believe we have any of those tonight. Item 7, discussion items. First item is small community grant program, septic system repair and replacement. Can we fall into that?
We can't, but this program, the reason it's on here is I'm looking for permission for the town to apply on behalf of people in the community who may have failing septic systems. This is a great program. The town has to act in conjunction with a
Have we
property
applied for
owner.
this before, or is this
Many years ago,
Okay,
but it's been a long time since there's been enough money in it to actually make a difference.
Okay.
And so it's on here to get the council's blessing that we participate in this program, advertise to see if there are people who have failing septic systems that may need assistance, and we can
So all that would need to be on the paper on our webpage or something and be able to contact us?
That's correct.
Okay.
Contact us to get them into this loop. There are income guidelines, but generally speaking, if someone has a failing septic system and is having trouble replacing it, they're going to probably
those
qualify
guidelines, right.
in order to do that. I was very pleased to see the state putting a significant infusion of
And is this a competitive grant that, or is
this
sort of,
is you apply individually for people.
Okay.
We're not competing
we're not
with.
competing against other towns and things like that?
No, it's just, but it's who gets in first kind of deal. So the initial application date, I think, is the town has until June 7th to submit the grant application for part of this.
Do we want to advertise more than just the website, or are we going to do something?
We'll put it on our Facebook page. We'll put it in the Enterprise, which is the best location to get people that.
Do we need a motion?
Hang on, anything else from the public?
I just want to know, what department is this coming from in the state? I missed that.
The Small Community Grant Program,
Department of
DEP.
DEP.
Yep.
Any further from the council on this?
I think it's a great program.
Okay. Take a motion if we want.
I'll make a motion to
Allow us to participate.
for us to yes, sorry.
Second.
I'll
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. The next item of discussion was the Mason parking lot plans authorization to put out to bid. This was talked about through the infrastructure committee, I believe, Rob?
Yes, and reviewed the bid package to our the best of our ability. It's pretty technical, but Susan went over concepts, and we recommend to the council that we put it out to bid.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to go into any more detail about the project for the public. Susan?
The initial discussion of this came in regard to problems with drainage that are behind an area of Main Street, behind Book Stacks, the former flower shop, and the adjacent property, that have been undermining foundations and causing problems for some time. That the council approved an evaluation of this area and 2 other areas that were experiencing drainage problems some time ago, and more recently, after reviewing the idea of what was going on with drainage, recommended that, or approved that our engineering firm do a design that addressed the drainage and created the parking lot so that it was more bang for the buck, so to speak, and that we ended up with needed parking behind Main Street and address the drainage issues, and that design has been done. It's a simple design. There's one entrance in off the Central Street parking lot. There's none for the small lane that goes up between the businesses on Main Street, because there's not sufficient room for 2 vehicles there. And there's no access out of the back of that lot because the town has no ownership of the land adjacent to it. So that the goal will be to get this out to bid and bring it back to the council for review of those bids at the second council meeting in April.
In light of the conversation we just had on the sewer thing, it's not any danger that that's part of the issue? Okay.
No, when that one was taken down, we know what happened to that site, so that is less of an issue than.
Have the council like that?
Motion to approve?
Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the authorization to put it to bid. Anything further from the public? Jim?
How much?
Thanks.
What was the cost of the plan,
Design.
having the design done?
The cost of the design that we had was $5,000.
Okay.
Any further from the public? Any further from the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. You said that will be set for the 25th to review the bids? Okay, thanks. Item 8 is agenda items to approve resolve 2019-42 to approve payment requisition 31 for the sewer treatment plant project.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Anything further from the public on this? From the council? How many more payment plans do we have on this before it's, is this through?
This
part of the
this is now the solar
right.
project. We have a person who is petitioned now, the Attorney General's office, to stop that project because he believes that there's a cemetery adjacent to the. We've marked out the cemetery that was identified, and it's fenced. It impacts a portion of the project, but not all of it. But
we have to wait for a ruling from the AG's office on this now. Continue.
I've not been told that it can't, but we had a meeting with Revision and the engineers, myself, our code officer, in regard to this information, and I'll be contacting Historic Preservation to have them review the steps that the town has already taken in regard to this site, which are extensive in terms of evaluation, and we'll be seeking their approval to move forward.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9, resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. I don't believe we have any of those. 10, approval of quick claims, discharges, and deeds. We have none of those. Town manager report, item 11.
I met with the CEO of Polo Oceans on Tuesday afternoon. The project continues to move forward with the property transfer anticipated by May. As anticipated, the business will be requesting a TIF for the non-equipment portion of the project, and that should be coming to the council within the next 2 months, but we anticipated that. Unfortunately, we will be putting the Route 46 contract out for bid again. Our current provider has indicated that he needs significant changes in the amount of the contract in order to do it for another year. And while he has done an exceptional job of maintaining Route 46 for a number of years, and he has, a significant change in amount is a material change to the contract, and I believe it is necessary to put it out for bid, since it's a changed circumstances that in order to be fair to everyone, we need to. This has been a year-to-year contract, and he understands this. But as I said, I'm sorry. He's done a great job, and
On a rough road.
on a rough road. So it will on a rough road, perhaps, but it's 10 miles out and 10 miles back with one small side road instead of our 33 dead ends that don't have turnarounds that the other routes have. So anyway, that contract,
When is that up? Is that June 30th? Is that like June 30th?
it's up this
Yeah.
fiscal year. I've asked our Public Works department to put that contract out, and that I anticipate also having for your review at the second meeting in April. So,
I have a question
Go
to
ahead.
reference that. How many trucks does he run on that route?
one.
So one truck, one person?
Well, he has someone who backs him up if he,
It's
if
a
it's a
couple
long storm. He's required to be able to.
Right, but I mean, if the town did it, it'd be one truck. I don't know. I mean,
Well, because of the cost of the contract has been, I know the number that it would cost the town
For us
to
do it.
replicate the service.
Okay.
And we're nowhere near that yet.
Okay.
In terms of this contract.
Okay.
So we'll see what the bids come in at and then reevaluate. As you're aware, Mr. Green has sued us again, and we have provided our response to his lawsuit, which is just he wants to overturn the agreement that was done last year. And the town's attorneys have asked the court to dismiss it. The court is in the process of evaluating the claim and will make a determination on our request for dismissal, I would hope imminently.
I actually have one question on that too.
Yes.
This is keeps costing us money. Can we get that back from him?
Not on this one, not the this one shouldn't go further
Okay.
than this dismissal,
Okay.
because it relates to, if everyone was allowed to change their mind because they made an agreement they didn't want, then the courts would be more full than they are now. But that doesn't mean you can't sue us for something else.
Okay.
How many times?
Hmm?
How many times has he sued?
This is the second.
Okay.
So our fire chief process, I have met with the full-time department members as well as with many of the call department members who attended a meeting that I held last week. Both entities have provided good information related to the needs of the department and related to what they see as needed from leadership in that department. I'll be placing an ad next week to begin the search with the goal of having the position filled by July 1st. And council recognition of Chief Bowden's service to the community will be at the April 25th council meeting. There will be an open house from 10 to 3 at the town office on Wednesday, April 3rd, in honor of retiring clerk Kathy Downs. We will have light refreshments and invite people to come and say hi to Kathy and thank you. And council recognition of Kathy's service will be celebrated at the April 11th council meeting. So it's our first regular council meeting of the month.
Do you have a time on that?
The council meeting?
The open house is 10 to 3.
The open one. Okay.
10 to 3.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I would like an infrastructure committee, or to put on the infrastructure committee, just to discuss painting bids for the interior of the town office. It has not been done since the building was built, and it needs some attention. There are cracks in some areas. There's work that needs to be done. I have a grant meeting tomorrow morning with our marina manager, harbor master Mike Ormsby, our community and economic development director Rich Rotella, and MDOT representatives in order to discuss moving the gas diesel project at the marina forward. That is funded in this year, and we hope to have that done before we open up. And then what I discussed briefly in infrastructure is that the Penobscot River case with the Mallinckrodt versus the Natural Resources Defense Council legal case that has been winding its way through the courts for many years. The last iteration of that order, the judge ordered an engineering report to be done to see what possible ways there could be engineered to remove mercury from sediment in the Penobscot. I have a copy of that engineering report and have read it. I have serious concerns over the proposed scope of work and its impact on Bucksport. The proposal doesn't address anything except the question of removing mercury from sediment. The proposal includes the idea of dredging 1.2 million cubic yards from various areas of the river, some adjacent to Bucksport, over a 20-year period, and covering half of Mendel Marsh with 3 inches of something, and replacing the 1.2 million that they dredge out with 1.2 million from something else. And while I certainly am in favor of cleaning the river up, and I am concerned about the release of additional mercury when you start dredging areas, and that dredges in a mercury removal site that's 60 acres in size in this region could have a chilling effect on economic development in this region. And there's been no opportunity for public community impact or community input into this because it's a court case between 2 parties. The opportunity for the town to participate is if the town wished to be a fact witness, and in this, the case, it goes to court in November, it could ask to do that. And primarily what I have are questions. They're not conclusions. They're questions about how this would work. How, the impact could, how many years can you see a dredge out here? What happens to the salmon who are returning? What happens to the sturgeon? You can only dredge in certain times of the year, so it ends up being a...
Do you see other towns up and down the river participating in the same way too?
I don't know that any of them have read the report. I don't know that.
Because to me, if it's what you say, and the other towns are represented, that would be a stronger
Well, the
statement.
other way that the town would have input is that if the court ordered this remedy, it would have to be permitted through the Department of Environmental Protection. And that process requires public
Public
input
participation,
and
right.
public participation and the ability to have questions answered in a way. This is a very unique case in that it's an environmental case, but it's entirely in a court. It's not being run through
DEP or EPA.
DEP or EPA or
Who is Mallinckrodt? Is that?
that's the owner of this, Holtrichem
Oh, okay.
Mallinckrodt.
All right, so that's.
Mallinckrodt is the owner. They're the only owner remaining who has any money that's,
Mhm.
they're the ones who are cleaning up that site. The land site is in the process of being remediated, but the river has been in discussion for many years. So that's.
Are you looking for us to give you permission?
I-
or you
I'm,
just
I'm,
gonna-
I'm looking to have more of a conversation
Yeah.
about impact here.
Right.
And if there's not council concern over what this impact might be, or that we can wait until they order something and then react to it through the DEP process, or if we want to try and impact what they order for a remedy
Right.
ahead of time. I mean, that's the
I
question.
mean, I by no means, I don't think anybody in this council is subject matter expert on any of this stuff, but I think we need to try to be in front of it if that's what you think is the.
Well, I think that we should ask questions. The goal is cleanup of the river, and I totally support that, but I don't want a cure that's worse than the disease in terms of its
impacts and-
impacts.
How do we get access to that?
Hmm?
How do we get access to the court case that you're?
We can ask to be, it's called a fact witness, and I'm not sure I'm recommending that. That's.
Well, I guess when you were asking for
I-
council input, it's
I'm-
hard to have any
yeah,
input unless
I
we can
understand.
read.
I have the report, which I've scanned, and it's significant in size. The summary that sort of highlights everything, that the idea of a dredge plan that's 20 years, or that it's more than 1 million cubic yards, and we're going to put something back in from somewhere else, that it starts to.
What I would maybe is see if some of these other towns are on the same page that we are, because I got to imagine that we can't be the only.
Well,
municipality.
because it's Orrington, us, Verona, or
Winnipeg
Orland.
on the
you
other
know,
side there
where-
too. Winnipeg, Hamden, or
Prospect, but
We'll see what everybody else said. But
Yeah.
as I said, this because it's not been out in
Mhm.
the.
out in the world.
Well, it's the judge's order to this engineering company was, can you engineer a way to reduce mercury and silt? And there's
Of course, the answer is
there's a
yes,
number of
right?
options there, and one is a $5 billion that you dredge everything from there on down. Okay.
Right.
And then there's this one that's pieces here and there, and covering half of Mendel Marsh, which is the songbirds there are, they come back to the same place, they come back to the same nets. What happens if you
Disturb.
Anyway, so it's a complicated issue, but it because it's all in our front yard, that the impacts could be to recreational tourism and to whole oceans. If you start mobilizing that mercury in the river, could be significant.
That's the way I'm going at. Is there any reason we shouldn't do this?
Well,
I mean, if we're asking
there's
questions.
there's never a downside to asking questions, because there should be answers to questions. So I'm not saying we run around and scream and shout. I'm suggesting that we find a way to ask questions
To be
about
listed as this fact.
impacts.
Fact.
Well, it maybe after
Asking some questions.
Asking some questions. Maybe the answer is to wait until it goes through into a permitting stage and then
Start from there, yeah.
start
But I
from there,
appreciate
because
this,
that's
I appreciate you bringing this up, because I don't think anybody, obviously, there hasn't been any talk about it anywhere that I've heard.
No, and as I said, I don't want it to be viewed that I'm in any way saying that I don't think the river should be cleaned up.
No, but
That
let's
is
make sure
not-
we take a hard
that
look
is
at the
not
right way
it,
to do
but-
it.
But if you start moving mercury, you're going to move mercury.
Mercury's gonna move, and you're not gonna catch it all.
Well, it's a very high current river, you know.
Especially in our
If
front
anyone's
yard.
seen a dredge, it's not an exact science. It's a big thing, and when you
Yeah.
pick it up, everything that's coming up through goes somewhere else. So
through it too.
anyway,
Okay.
that's just a heads up that that's
Everybody okay with
out
that?
there.
Just get some more information, we'll ask around. Anything else from the public on that, or? Anything that the town manager's spoken report?
Is this the same report that's been out for a few years now?
No,
It's not. This is a new report that they've come out with.
this report was, the date on it is September 2018, this last fall.
And this is a court, it's a
This
court
is a
finding?
report from an engineering firm retained by the judge to determine whether were engineering possibilities to reduce mercury in sediment in the Penobscot. It's a very very small box that the question is in, and the engineering report gives, as I said, the $5 billion dredge from here to the whole thing, to do spot ones, and their recommended procedure is the one that covers half the marsh and dredges 1.2 million cubic yards and other things.
Well, the report I read said that under the circumstances, leaving it alone was the way to go. It wasn't. They didn't even begin to recommend cleaning it up because it was already covered with silt in feet, not inches of
Well,
silt.
the one that I have, and I'll email it to you, Jim, is the most recent one ordered by the judge, and it's the one that the court case that's held in November, that recommendation will be what they're considering.
Yeah. Well, the people that they had originally tested out said that the devastation from messing with it was going to be worse than leaving it where it was.
And you just highlighted what my concerns are, that if you start messing with it, it's going to...
Exactly. It's already coming out in the form of mercury oxide or some chemical mixture that's coming out of the marsh right now. Every time this bubble comes up, that you mess with it too much.
All right, anything else on the manager's report? Anything good? Public hearings, approval of licenses and permits. We have several licenses tonight. None of these have to have public hearings, right? They're all just approvals, correct? First one is for Main Street Bucksport. They have three. I think we'll take them all as a bunch. The first one is Flash in the Pans performance, July 29th. The next one's for Bucksport Arts Festival on August 9th and 10th. And the third one for Main Street Bucksport is the International Maritime Film Festival on September 28th.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further from the public on this? From the council? All those in favor for Main Street Bucksport licenses? Anybody opposed? Motion passes. The next one is a liquor license, food service license for Donald Martell, Kenneth Susi, Friars Brew House LLC, doing business as the Friars Brew House.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Anything from the public? From the council? Glad to report that they are open and doing a robust business back since Brother Don is back. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. The third one tonight is liquor license, special amusement food service license. First one is Jeff Ledbetter, Ledbro LLC, doing business as the Harborview Grill. Would the council like to
Make a motion to approve.
motion to approve?
Second.
In a second. Anything from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. The next one for a liquor license, special amusement food service license is Wayne Hand doing business as the Bucksport Golf Club.
Motion approved.
Motion approved.
Second.
And a second. Any from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Discussion items, number 13, discussion items, that's all license we had, right, Kathy? We had nothing else?
Yes, I
Okay.
just need
We gotta have a bunch of
signatures.
signatures now, right?
Yes.
All right. Item 13 is discussion of items not on the agenda for the council and the public. As always, we'll open up to the public first. Any discussion items from the public tonight? Sir, could you just state your name and where you're from, please?
Yeah, my name is Kaleem. I'm from Spring Fountain Motel. So we recently had quite a number of visits from the fire department, and to renew the license, they actually had to come over there and had to look upon things and see if they're okay to grant us the license. Now, just had a few concerns. I just wanted to bring it out.
A few concerns from the fire department?
A few concerns about the how they were actually the things they were actually telling us to do, and that's fine. I just wanted to bring it out. I just wanted to
Okay, I don't want to have personnel issues discussed here.
Absolutely
So
not.
If you do,
That's-
you can talk to the town
It's a
manager about those.
business.
Correct. I'm just putting that out there first.
No,
okay?
no problem.
Thank
No,
you.
So there were two buildings in Spring Fountain. There's Building 1 and Building 2. The Building 1 was built in 1964.
Is that the one closest to Glenn's?
The one, the one on the right side, which has the main office, and then there was Building 2 in 1974. From that time onwards up till now, the building had the same structure. It never had any alternations, anything to be recommended by the fire department itself. I think you guys all remember there was 3-4 years ago in that, and there was a new section built for that. And at that time, I also saw the report. The fire department had a very thorough check about everything, and they actually said that everything's okay and up to code, and they actually kept issuing the license every year. Now this year, when they came up, since the new ownership took over last year, they have came up with several different reservations. And I can understand the main ones were the carbon monoxide detectors and everything, and those were put in. But then in Building 2, when we went in the basement, the recommendations, few of them I can put it forward, is that they wanted us to actually put fire-rated sheetrock and everything underneath the rooms, all of them, which were never put in place since the building was built. So in 60 years, that was never brought up. But now they want us to do it all together, for the whole thing. They want sprinkler systems inside the basement, which was never put in all those years, but they want us to put it right now. The doors, which were that way since the building was built, were the same until now, but they want us to replace it with almost $2,000 per door.
Did you? I'm just.
So
I'll let
sorry,
you
yes,
continue.
go ahead.
But did you have a discussion with them on why this?
I did.
Okay.
And their answer was that since there was a false fire alarm, they checked everything, so now they just caught up with that. And my response was that I'm pretty sure an actual fire is serious than a fire alarm.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an actual fire. And you guys went through all that, and I have the report of that. And you guys never brought up that issue, but now you guys want us to do that. And also, you guys know in January and February are most of the driest months for business. We literally just made probably over $6,000, and we had a boiler burst, so we put a $35,000 boiler, and we were literally scarce on money. But there was a timeline given, and I was told that the license is going to be held just because these things are not addressed. I just was my reservation was that it was never brought forward in all those years, but now all of a sudden the structural issues and all those. I can understand about the detectors and everything, but the structural issues which were never put forward for anything, now all of a sudden it wants us to get it done in a very short period of time.
Okay. Would I recommend that?
Is the fire marshal involved in this discussion?
Jeff Hammond is. I don't know who's the short.
No, the state fire marshal.
Okay,
Has the state fire marshal issued a report on this?
So when the first they came in, they had their own recommendations, and then they said that we're also gonna call in the fire marshal for just an opinion. So the Bucksport fire people called in the fire marshal, and then as far as I remember, because I was with them when they were actually doing all the surveys and stuff, there was this thing that they were in the basement in Building 1, there's all mud underneath the rooms from 1 to 9, the new section which was built. So the fire marshal said that there is not going to be any problem for the rooms because the fire cannot travel. The mud cannot catch fire. But Mr. Jeff was like persistent that no, even underneath those there should be like a fire-rated sheetrock or something should be built. It's all extra cost to the business, which is already trying to just build up.
I'll check with the fire department and fire marshal's office and see that.
How much time do they give you to do all that stuff?
So I was given for the sprinkler system, the doors, which almost cost like $4,000 to $5,000, and also there were garages, which were
The ones that are underneath there on the...
yeah, on the building 2, there's garages in the back which are filled for 15 years, and they want us to empty those garages out and have everything out, which was our furniture. And I asked them, what's the reason? It's our space, and we can store the but they said there's also a fire. I can't argue with them. Whatever they'll tell me, I'll have to do it. But I'm just bringing it up. These 3 things: sprinkler system, the garages to be emptied out, the detectors to be put in, and the doors to be installed. We were given a month.
So what I'm going to recommend is that the fire department and the town manager meet with you to try to figure out why this happened this way. I'm getting one side and the other side.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I would rather have a sit down with the town manager and the fire folks to make sure we can get this straightened out, to see if there is a discrepancy, if there's a reason why it went beyond where it's gone every other year.
And I'll bring the reports from 3 years ago where they okayed everything, and now they have reservations about it.
And
Absolutely.
is that-
There have been significant complaints.
Okay. Because that's something we can discuss with, that you can discuss with.
I just
Well, I
want
can discuss it with the fire
Right.
department, but the original
Like I say, there's
impetus came from complaints received.
Yeah, just want to add one more thing. So, I mean, I can even bring my ledger. So the complaints came in on probably around January and the start of February. We had a manager who stole almost 12 grand from us, and we had lodged a complaint. My voice here, she knows, and he was making calls every day to the fire department, the health department, the PD, every day. We literally had, on count, 7 customers in 2 months. And I'll bring the copies of the reports too. No customer is allowed in the laundry room, the back shed, inside in the basements. Those complaints consist of that. So it was not coming from the guests primarily, first thing. I have a lot of complaints which were made to the health department. 70% of were phony complaints. When the health inspector came in, he'll say that number 11 has mold in the sink or whatever. And they'll go in and there was no mold in there. I'll have him vouched for that too. The guy was tried to sabotage our business, because we were trying to get him for theft and stuff. So he tried calling on us. He wouldn't leave for 6 weeks, and we couldn't run our business because he was sitting in the main house where there were all the routers, the cameras, and everything. So that was part of that. That was not coming from actual guests. We are fully dedicated to do everything which is required. I just don't want to feel targeted. That's all.
Okay. We'll try to
We'll
work out
set up a meeting
we'll try to
with-
work out a solution for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have a meeting.
You come right up and give us your
I
name,
had
please.
a meeting with Jeff Hammond and the fire marshal.
Can I get your name,
here.
please?
My name's Evelyn Moran.
Okay.
And Jeff Hammond was very determined that he wanted it done, and he wanted it done now.
Okay.
And it's like, we only have so much, that we can put into this, because they weren't.
Can you give us a chance to try to work through that? I
Yes.
give you that opportunity that we will try to work through this so we can come to some
Yeah.
resolution.
I just couldn't understand why he was being so,
Let us work through it with you. Okay.
okay,
I
Great.
make that to you that we will try to work through this.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else from the public? Any comments from the council?
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure it's early, and I know we clean up around the walkway and everything, but as I was walking the other day, right behind the, I don't know if anybody's walked the waterfront recently, but right behind the Irving Station. You look down the hill, down into the water. I mean, it's just trash all over. It has to be coming from the plowing. It looks directly like it's coming from the plowing.
Came from the project.
I'm sorry?
They've been doing a project at the
At the
Irving
Irving?
Station, and they have been notified that following
The completion?
the completion, they've left a mess.
Can
That-
Is there a follow-up that we can?
Yes,
have some-
we are in the
Okay, 'cause
process
it's- I
of
mean,
that,
it's down,
Rich.
it's
and
getting into the water. There's
That is, there was supposed to be a continuation of that project to do tank replacement, and they were going to, if you remember, close the walkway
Close it all
behind
off,
that
right.
during that. They didn't move ahead with that project, and they didn't clean up behind the.
But
We are,
we're on.
yeah, we're in that come back and fix it mode.
Anything else from anybody? I talked to the town manager for the regulatory review committee coming up. Got thinking about our council rules and what we had talked about, and what we've done. And when I got looking at numbers, and I'm talking about missed time, if you go for 3 meetings in a row and you come one, 3 meetings in a row, you come one, you're talking 7 or 8 months that you could possibly miss. I'm going to make a recommendation to the regulatory review that we limit the total number of meetings missed in a year to 5. You can still have your 3 in a row, but the most you can miss total for the whole thing is 5. That's 20% of the meetings. I think as councilors, we owe it to the folks. I think we owe it to ourselves. Try to get a lot of business done. And if you're gone for more than 20% of the time, there's a lot of catch up, and we have discussions. And if we're not able to be involved in those, it's a detriment to not only us as councilors, but also to the folks that we serve. So I'm going to have that come forward. That's what the regulatory review is for the next meeting that we have. So. Anything else?
Would you be including absentees with excuse or?
So if I was in the hospital for a prolonged injury, that 5 meetings is 2.5 months worth of time. Hopefully we take it upon ourselves as councilors to realize that maybe we ought to have to step down. So I'm looking at the 5 total as a 2.5 month period. So if it's a continuous period, we'll look at that as a. But I think that's more than enough time that I think we should.
You're talking regular meetings.
Yes, I'm talking the
Second and
schedule,
fourth.
second, fourth, and also those scheduled meetings for the budget time are also being that's part of our regular meeting process.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yes, I agree
I have
with
some
this.
concerns about that, but we can take it up at the,
Yeah.
when we talk.
I agree with this too. I think that when I came up to run, that was something that was brought up to me a lot by people, is that the attendance is important. We push it in every other aspect of our lives, and I think it's important to do it here it's not fair to the townspeople not to have people here.
so we will set that up for a regulatory review at the next.
Yes, that along with
It's
the other
actually-
changes that you had requested in council rules when we went through those, we'll put those all on here to move forward.
I'll be honest, Mayor, that's why I didn't run. Was because I was afraid of that and the time commitment, and I totally agree with the 5.
All right. Like I said, we'll have more discussion on that, so thank you. Nothing further on discussion from everybody, correct? Item 14 is upcoming public hearings or committee topic assignments. Like I said, we have Administration and Finance Committee to review annual appointments
Yes, those are,
for all the
The-
Recreation Committee and things like that go,
that's
the ones that
right.
expire once a
Um,
year or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
So if we could
Do we want to do those
have
on
one
the
of
11th?
those prior to the next council.
Maybe if we could do
Do we want, it's the 11th, right? Because some of them expire at the end of this month, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, like the planning board members, like Jeff, the assessor, his expiry is the 31st.
Okay.
So there's some real important ones that you really need to take a look at.
Okay. And, we're
We can
okay.
actually, we have the budget meeting on the
On the
4th.
4th?
I can put them on that
Let-
meeting.
let-
We
Let's
can
do that
right
if
before.
that gives us time to get them together.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way we're.
Oh, yeah, we've got the list anyway.
Okay.
I hate asking, am I on those?
No, this is outside committee stuff.
I know. Am I on those two committees?
If you don't know what committee you're on, you're gonna have to.
The Finance
I
Committee.
can't remember. Yeah, I guess I am.
Well, anyway, we'll have it at, because the budget meeting next week is at 6, if I remember
Yeah.
correct. So maybe if we go at 5:30 for that, or 5:45 even.
5:45 would be fine.
So let's just go 5:45 for that, for this one here,
Yeah.
for the annual appointments. Does that work okay with
Yep.
everybody?
I won't be here, so
Yeah.
put me down for one meeting this. I won't be here next week.
I'll try to make it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go
And
ahead.
like I say, it's also our first budget one, so, and then the regulatory review, we can do that on the 11th, correct? So is that the only one we have? We have infrastructure also, correct?
Well, infrastructure's, depending on what I find out for, if we need to schedule one, I'll contact you, but regulatory review, we do need. We've got
Is that going to be a couple things, so maybe 6 o'clock with that?
6 o'clock.
Okay, so let's do regulatory review at 6 on the 11th. Is that all we had for those?
And the,
At 6, yeah.
the only other thing I wanted to do, and we went by the discussion items, but I wanted to, for anyone who hadn't yet met our incoming town clerk, Jacob Gran is here with us this evening. We hope we haven't scared him away. He started with us on the 27th and has stepped right in and is working in the office and meeting our people. And I want to thank our current clerk, Kathy, who has given him tours and introduced him to, he told me today he thought he had met half of Bucksport, but maybe there's still more.
Hang around
more
with
to
Frank,
go.
you get meet the other half.
Anyway, so we have moved that, and I advertised for a full-time maintenance custodian person because of the resignations here at the public safety building and the need for something at the senior center, and the almost impossibility. The school can't.
You know,
No, they have one spare that is in use most of the time. So
And we
we'll see
determined-
what we get
Okay,
for
yeah.
a response to this, but it needs to be something coordinated because that
Mhm.
needs to get done, and it's, as I said, almost impossible to find 15 hours here and 20 hours there and 5 hours somewhere else, and that's dependable. So
And a contract company?
I-
We'll see what we come up with.
we'll see what we
Okay.
get for and compare costs,
Okay.
because I think it may be more cost effective for us at the end of the day, in this case, to hire than
Okay.
to try to contract.
Okay, let's see what we end up with.
Yep.
All right, anything else? Item 15 is adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
First and second, all those in favor?